Welcome to this Highways UK session on connected vehicles. Today I'm going to be talking to Andy Graham, who is an independent consultant, one of UK's leading experts on connected and cooperative vehicles. He's a contributor to the Transport Technology Forum, he's chair of ITS UK's Connected Vehicles Forum, and he also leads the working group on deployment of Green Light Optimized Speed Advice, which is a connected service for future connected vehicles. He's also a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Highways and Transportation, a member of the IET, or the IET's Transport Policy Panel, and a trustee of the Rees Jeffreys Road Fund, a charity that provides financial support in the form of grants and bursaries with the aim of promoting and securing better roads in terms of design, engineering, aesthetics, enhancements, and the experience of road users. Welcome, Andy. So,
thank you.
Today we're going to talk about connected vehicles. So a connected vehicle is one which has the ability to connect to other vehicles on the road, the roadside, and indeed the wider internet. We can use these to provide a range of services which will improve safety, convenience, and provide environmental benefits. Andy, given that we've been working on this, and you as well have been working on this for well in excess of 10 years, at both national and international levels. What is the state of connected vehicles at the moment? Where are we?
That's a really interesting question. I've just done some work for DFT on the Transport Technology Forum on a project called State of the Connected Nation, and some work for the RAC Foundation looking at exactly that question. And I think my point is that connected vehicles are already here to a very large extent, in that many people have got something like Google Maps or Waze in their vehicle. Many people are also got a pay-as-you-go insurance box. Many people have a dash cam. Many people have a fleet management system that's producing data. And many of those services, like, for example, Google Maps, also brings data into the vehicle. It's now giving warnings of queues, broken down vehicles, etc. And then we have a wide range of apps that do smart parking. Glossa is being trialled in various cities in the UK. And eCall is around, is installed in all new vehicles since 2018. So although it's not turned out in the way that we perhaps intended, with beacons at the side of the road and in-vehicle units, certainly we've got a large number of connected vehicles of all sizes and of all ages. We're starting to get connected motorbikes, connected cycles. Large number of heavy vehicles have been connected for many years because they are helpful for the management of the fleet and so on. So I'd say we're pretty connected as we are. In terms of new vehicles that are coming online, we've now got the Volkswagen Golf Mark 8, which is equipped with ITSG5, so it can talk to other vehicles. That will over time expand. Sadly, we're perhaps not going to have as many new vehicles sold as we might have done with an economic downturn. It'll take a long time for those to come through, but we've got a large number of vehicles equipped already with connection that are driving around. Yeah. One of which, and I'll just like to show you this picture here, that's a Model T Ford that I've connected up using a mobile phone that you can see, and with some internet connectivity. And so there's the mobile phone, and there's the Model T Ford. So this is probably the UK's oldest connected vehicle, if not Europe's, unless anyone proves me otherwise. It's an extreme example, but it just says that all connected vehicles aren't new ones.
That's a really interesting point, isn't it? Because some people say, well, I'm not going to be connected until I have a car that comes with it built in. But actually, putting a smartphone on the dashboard is providing you with at least some connectabilities, if not the whole suite.
Well, I would say there's two things. One is you don't even need to put the phone in on the dashboard now, although many people do. There's a lot of interaction with the head unit of even a reasonably priced new vehicle.
Yes.
The sub 20 grand cars. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay will allow you to connect your mobile phone. But also many people are now using connections for other things. So pay-as-you-go insurance. Wouldn't like to have a teenager trying to buy insurance without one of those.
Yeah.
And as I said, fleet management. So lots of people say, I wouldn't want to buy a car till it's connected. Well, it probably is. And also, if you buy something like a BMW or an Audi, then that's already pretty well connected. It's got a large amount of connectivity, it's providing data.
Yeah.
So people don't really know perhaps as much as connected as they are.
Yes. Okay. So in your first bit, you mentioned Glossa, which is a service which people may not be familiar with. Do you want to explain what that is?
Okay, so imagine that in a city you're driving up to traffic lights, and what Glossa does is tells you whether to speed down or perhaps slow up a little bit in order to get to them at green. And if you turn up at red, it tells you when they're going to go green again. So this is particularly useful in the shoulders of the peaks when traffic isn't quite so heavy, but also very, very useful for heavy vehicles, particularly overnight, coming off motorways through roundabouts, slip roads, things like that. Because a heavy vehicle that has to go down through all its gears, stop and then start again, that's about £1 worth of diesel and vehicle wear.
Yeah.
It's tyre wear, noise, etc.
Yeah.
So that from a point of view of reducing emissions, this is a good idea. Point of view of also for drivers of vehicles, they don't get stuck at red, they'll go through at green. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. Okay. And once we have the correct infrastructure, presumably this is something that can be quite easily added to vehicles.
Well, indeed. The tests so far, I've used it as an app in the A2M2 project and in also in Birmingham.
Yeah.
So it could be added to even to a Model T Ford. The infrastructure bit is the connection into the traffic signal system, which is to some extent a challenge. But because we've got about 40,000 traffic signals in the UK. But if we deal with the early quick wins, I mentioned motorway slip roads, Highways England's already looking at that.
Yeah.
Then we can roll that service out.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So as I mentioned right at the beginning, this is something that we've been working on for many years, and the promise has been there. It's been, as you yourself also said, it's been a bit slow in maturing. But of course, in the last couple of years, what's really grabbed the headlines is automation and autonomous, or if you will, driverless vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Where is connectivity going to fit into this?
Okay, so firstly, people get kind of confused between the two because we've got the Centre for Connected and Autonomous Vehicles, and it just runs off the tongue, a bit like sort of Bodie and Doyle or Tom and Jerry, whereas actually it's connected and pause, wait for a bit, autonomous vehicles,
Yes.
for the reasons I've just said. So you could have also, you've got this word autonomous, which kind of actually in the dictionary means can run itself, whereas a highly automated vehicle does need to be able to do that. It can't rely on comms. It's got to be able to sort itself out if it loses its comms link. But in other words, it can need to be autonomous. And therefore, many of the people, some of the people in the autonomous world feel that connectivity isn't required. I can't trust it. But I think I would argue that connectivity is required because it makes things better when it's there.
Yeah.
It can tell you what's around the corner. It can find you a parking space. It could show you that the parking space that your system autonomously thought was available has actually got a skip in it and you can't park there.
Yeah.
It can warn you of the queue that's around the corner. It can tell you, as I said, what speed to go through green. So I'd argue that an autonomous vehicle without connectivity is going to be a really bad user experience. I think we can make autonomous vehicles much better with connectivity. Yeah. I think we can make the way that they can be adopted much better. And a lot of the stuff that we need to get in place for autonomous vehicles actually applies to connected vehicles and makes the user experience better for human drivers. So smart parking is a really good example. If you want to do automatic valet parking, all the stuff that you need, like digital traffic regulation orders and pre-booking of spaces and all account-based parking, all of that makes human driving much better as well. So I don't think you can have a good user experience in an autonomous vehicle without it being connected. But I do think an automated vehicle needs to work on its own for when the connectivity isn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that's one of the essential points, is that the connectivity is never something that you can guarantee will be available.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. And I think the other thing is that much of the work I've been doing in things like finding potholes and improving traffic signals is a bit Cinderella compared to the idea of a self-driving car.
yes,
And it's also Cinderella sometimes in terms of the funding. But I think many people are now realizing that connection is, they always say, oh, connectivity is a couple of years away. Well, no, it's been here for a couple of years now.
yeah,
And it's available for a wide range of vehicles, not just new ones.
yeah,
And I also think that many of the things that we're talking about today actually make driving better. They're the sort of thing that you would want to download an app for, or maybe pay a little bit more for a car for. They make humans have better experiences in cars,
yeah.
and allied with some of the driver assistance features that we're going to go see, you wonder whether the road to full automation might be somewhat longer because the driving experience would get better quicker.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. So we've just about filled our allotted time. Just one quick question. Given all the changes that we are seeing in technology, in driving, and in the last 6 months, dare I say, in people's behavior, where do you think we're going to be in terms of personal private transport in, say, 10 years' time?
So there's been a lot of discussion about mobility as a service and the idea of shared vehicles. I really do think that COVID has put a question mark about that until we get through that problem.
Yeah.
I think many people will stop buying a car in that they've now moved towards. Will stop buying a car until they've now moved to perhaps personal contract plans, leasing.
Yeah.
I think the idea of a vehicle that you kind of sit outside your drive might change, in that you might now have a vehicle when you want it. There's already a Chinese company that's called Lynx that's starting to do that in Europe, in terms of here's the car, but you can lease it out to other people.
Right.
I think, unfortunately, this does rely on, to some extent, new vehicle sales, which I think might be a challenge for the economy. The age of the current average vehicle in the UK, according to the SMMT, is about 8 years. I can see that going up.
Yeah.
So I don't think there'll be a massive change in 10 years, but what I do think is that you may not have one car, you may have a contract, and various cars may come. They may be electric, there may be a station wagon for when you want to go out for the weekend, there may be a small city car. But I still do think there'll be a large element of private usage, if not private ownership. But I would like to be proved wrong. I'd like to see COVID being triumphed, and I'd like to see the more use of these shared vehicles. But at the moment, we're seeing car uptake going up as public transport sadly goes down because of COVID. So who knows?
Right, Andy, thank you very much. Those were the views of Andy Graham, an independent consultant, as I said, and very well known within the field of connected vehicles. Andy, thank you very much, and we really appreciate your input.
That's my pleasure, Peter. Thank you very much for inviting me.